second down and 1 at the 11. Howard with time in the corner. Touchdown, Emeka Egbuka. This is the Jeremiah Smith effect. I wanted you to watch the safety as well as the corner, and they're going to get sucked out of here because of Jeremiah Smith, which leads to a vacancy in the back of the end zone, and that is a defensive end trying to drop out. That's Linnell Carr. He can't.
Welcome to Dynasty Degens Rookie Profiler Series. I am Nerdboy Takes, and I'm actually joined by my boy today, FFSnoog. Snoogie, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
It feels good to be back, Nerdboy. I mean, last time we did this, it was for Xavier Worthy and Brian Thomas Jr. last year. This year, I get to talk about another one of my favorite wide receivers coming out. So feels like we're just breeding wide receivers, rookie draft after rookie draft after rookie draft. And it seems like it's going to be this way again, at least at the top of it. This class isn't really deep at all. And it's kind of weak after like the consensus top 4 to 5 guys. But we're going to talk about one of my favorites tonight.
Yeah. If you didn't follow us last year, the last episode that I did with Snoogie, we had BTJ and Xavier Worthy, 2 guys that we were extremely high on. And you saw what happened this year. You know, so we handpicked these guys to talk. Today we are talking about the route god himself, Emeka Egbuka, somebody that you love. I actually have reassessed. I had a lot of medical red flag situations going on just because of my longstanding issues being in Devy leagues and stuff. It's been hard to get over that for me, but I'm fully over that, baby. I have it. So I know I want to talk about little tiers right now, but Hunter, if Hunter's landing in a spot, like we're talking about going to a very hungry offensive scheme, a hungry offensive team in general, like if you went Patriots, you know, and they had these little packages for him, or they said, we're going to run you full time, both sides. Hunter's that wide receiver 1 in this class, like hands down. But then it gets a little spicy for me, because we have Tat McMillan and then Egbuka. And I think they're 1A, 1B. And I don't really care how you want to do it. You know, like I don't fault anybody for having Egbuka over Tat or Tat over Egbuka. It's a coin flip at this point in time. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail about what we like about Egbuka. But first, I know it's rookie draft fever. It's rookie draft season. I'm going to kick you over to our sponsor right now. You're going to listen to the origin drafts that we have going on Fast Draft. And once that's over, we're going to get right back into Egbuka.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies, and use your favorite player profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Yeah, go over to Fast Draft, use Dynasty Degens. So if you use promo code Degens, it's $25 off any deposit you make. So, all right, Emeka Egbuka. So Emeka is a senior, 6'1", 205. His 24 stats were 81 receptions, 1,011 yards, 10 touchdowns. He mixed in a little bit of rushing in there as well. He is that skill set that he can work out of the backfield. He can get those manufactured touches if he needs to. But what stands out with Egbuka with me is he's just a technician. You know, he's very masterful with his footwork, coming in and out of stems, like everything that he does on the breaks. And it's just night and day. By far, technician, like his route running is the best in the class, I think, by a wide margin. Before it was, I think his sophomore year, he was more of a speedster. He still has that really good, like long speed. He's got that straight line speed. But, you know, before his injury, he was relying on more of that speed and that separation that way. Now he can separate no problem. You know what I mean? He has
Yeah.
that read. He understands where that defender's going before that defender even knows where he's going. And he can separate with many different ways. Like it's just off the break. If he's on the line, his footwork is fantastic. I mean, I can't talk about his savviness, you know, because his intelligence on the field is what really gets me. You have to be hyper intelligent to have that extreme route running ability, you know, that the way that he can essentially manipulate a defender to go a certain way. And that is rare. It doesn't happen a lot because a lot of these guys are physical. They're working with their speed. And the guys that are the route guys, you know what I mean? We're talking about the Addisons, JSNs, like these guys that are savvy and very, they can go in any matchup. And I don't have any problem trusting them week to week. You know, like we have our guy Worthy. You know, Worthy is lesser known for the route running, but obviously is a speedster. So it's like more of like that Jameson Williams Worthy role. But like I have Egbuka in that Addison, like that, you know what I mean? Like you just set it and forget it. This guy is going to get open no matter who's on him. Tell me why you love Egbuka. I know I touched on a lot right there in a little bit of time, but we can go back and forth and just talk about this guy for a little while.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of the things that I liked a lot about him, but one thing that stands out the most to me with him, and this isn't a trait, this has nothing to do with anything that he does specifically. It's the fact that he played alongside what is set to be two of the best wide receiver prospects, or two of some of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in 10 plus years, in Jeremiah Smith and Marvin Harrison Jr. And he put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with them. He went toe-to-toe with Marv in 2023 or 2022 there with CJ Stroud as a sophomore. He actually outproduced Marv as a true freshman too. So like when him and Marv were on that team and he was healthy, Marv was healthy, he was going toe-to-toe with him in that offense. So that's the thing that I think is special about him. And then this past season, before in 2023, he was battling injuries all season, didn't really play, comes back healthy, fresh. You have one of the best true freshmen, if not the best true freshman wide receiver ever, Jeremiah Smith, playing alongside who was the best wide receiver in the country. And Emeka Egbuka still showed up, 80 plus receptions, 1,000 plus yards. He's done it with 3 different quarterbacks in Kyle McCord, Will Howard, CJ Stroud, doesn't matter. He's a reliable every down target. Some player comps that kind of just jump out right away for me: Golden Tate, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a little bit of Chris Olave in his game. I like the Addison comp, like you mentioned. I think Addison has probably more speed than he does, but I still think, like a lot of people think Egbuka is going to have a bad 40 and tank his combine. I think he's going to really show everybody that he's faster than they think. Like I think he's going to probably run in the 4.4s and be a really explosive runner at the combine. If he does run it, he might not, but where he's going to really separate and raise eyebrows is running routes and catching footballs from quarterbacks he's never played with. I think he's going to stand out the most there. Everybody in this class, like you have Luther Burden, who's this elite yak monster, who's basically a running back playing wide out. You have Tet McMillan, who can win downfield, win at all 3 levels, and he's this big 6'5" Mike Evans prototype type winner. And then Egbuka is like that prototypical slot, can play the Z, can kind of play a little bit on the outside and run routes, win versus man, win versus zone, win versus press, win after the catch. So that's kind of where I see these 3 wide receivers. I just personally think he has the highest floor out of any of them. And like you said before, I actually do have him and Tet in the same tier as wide receiver 1 and 2 in this class, just because I don't know what the hell to do with Travis Hunter. If he comes out and says, I'm going to play wide receiver, then he's going to be wide receiver 1 for me. If he comes out and it's like a 50-50 split, then he'll probably be like 4 right behind Burden. I don't really know what to do with him right now, but I think we'll get clarity by rookie drafts. But I really think like Egbuka's, I know it's tough to say because it's like, it seems like every Ohio State wide receiver coming out is just good and it's just good prospect. Olave was a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver in his first 2 seasons. Garrett Wilson, 3 straight with 1,000. Marv just came out and put up like 880 and 8 touchdowns. Should have had like 15 touchdowns if Kyler Murray could throw a football. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba, disappointing rookie year, then comes out with a big breakout, 100 plus receptions. They're just a factory right now. And I think Emeka Egbuka is going to be the last one of that big group that they all played together on the same team that comes out, and get him to this Houston Texans and reunite him with CJ Stroud. And I think he's going to be a top 15 dynasty wide receiver.
Oh, baby. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
It is a factor. They're doing the right things. That coaching tree knows how to, well, first of all, they know how to get the talent over there, but then they also know what to do with the talent. That's a big thing, man. If you're learning under that tree and you have all these guys that are obviously top tier first round picks around you, that pedigree alone is going to actually push you up my board in general. You said everything about Egbuka, that he was working alongside these guys, JSN, Marv. His sophomore year, he outproduced all of them. You know what I mean? He was that wide receiver one of that team. He had the tough injury that really took away from his explosiveness. And I think that's where, like, once he had that injury, I think that's where he developed the savviness. He really defined.
You know what that injury was? Was it a hamstring?
Man, I got to go back into it.
I know JSN had the hamstring, but people think he just was opting out. I forget what it was for Egbuka. I'll look it up real quick. I'm curious what it was.
If you can pull that up, I'm not sure. That's really like where I was holding back on him.
He sprained his left ankle, but he had surgery on it, so it definitely wasn't a good ankle sprain. So that makes sense.
And that just killed his junior year because everyone thought he was coming out for that junior year. After that sophomore year, he was like a JSN, like, he could just sit the year and still be a lock in the first round. But he just opted to stay. And I get it. Like, I think it helped him out a little bit, especially in a weaker wide receiver class. But I think Egbuka in a wide receiver 2 role is going to feed families, because I think he is that Asin type, that guy that probably isn't going to ever be a 1, but can easily be in that realm of like, okay, we're going to get him a little yak monster working, because he has that ability to work in all 3 levels. Like, he has the way that he plays. Like, he can be intermediate, mid, and then he can go out there if he really wants to. But I think he would definitely probably do very well as a mid-tier, like, wide receiver 2 on most teams. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's almost the safest bet. As long as the medicals hold up, I think he's the safest bet in that class, especially like when you're looking at a Tet McMillan. I love Tet. So when we look at this class, doesn't it remind you a lot of, all right, so I'm not going to say Burden is Treylon Burks. It's hard not to put him there just because of manufactured touches and the way that he plays.
That's the only thing that worries me with him. Like, he's such a fun player to watch, and I truly think he's going to be fine in translate, but there's always, like, there is this risk that and it also seems like a lot of the NFL draft analysts are bumping him down now. So maybe it's like some off-field stuff that we don't know about, but like the talent on the field and the way he plays, like, he had shit QBs his whole career. So it's like, I know the talent's there. I could see him being like a Rashee Rice type player and like being explosive like that, but
slide a little bit. I think him sliding a little bit, it's only going to, he's not going to like it, obviously, but it's going to benefit fantasy, because he could slide all the way back to the Chiefs. He could slide back anywhere at that point in time, but if he's going in the back end of the first or early second, I think his landing spots are a little more juicy as far as fantasy goes. But
it does remind me of 2022 though, especially if Travis Hunter plays wide out, because he's like your Garrett Wilson, like your insanely gifted athlete that can run every route, can jump 40 inches in the air, like.
We're talking, okay, Hunter could be that Garrett Wilson of the class, and then London and Tet really have similar. Emeka Olave, and then obviously, like I said, I'm not going to put Burden in that Burks. I don't think he's going to come in and totally flop.
You could put Trey Harris in that Burks role, and then you could.
I like Trey Harris, such a beast, man. I'm going into Trey Harris next week.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think Matthew Golden. I liked Matthew Golden a lot when he was at Houston, and I like him like now, but I just think that I don't think he's a first round talent. Like, I think he's like that early second round type player that you draft, and it's like, okay,
he's got like
him the first is too rich.
A Josh Downs trajectory for me. Like, I want him
something like that.
I could see him being overdrafted. I could also see him sliding into the mid second. But the way that his profile is, like he could go anywhere. Just like Trey Harris. I have no idea where the hell Trey Harris is going to go either. Like these two
I know.
guys, they could be first round talents. They could also be like mid to late second round guys. It's just
Saturday's
all
huge for both of them if they're running and if they're testing.
yeah. I mean, I know Trey Harris is banged up. I have no idea if he's going out or not, but I think Golden's definitely going to improve his stock a little bit. I think he's going to if he's doing everything, you know, like I think he's going to really excel at cone drill and everything. So it's crazy. I mean, this class, everyone says it's a weak wide receiver class, but there's so much talent. I mean, this is the rhetoric every year, right? Like we're talking about a strong wide receiver class and a weak running back class or a weak running back class. And, you know, like it's just back and forth. And I think there's so much bone on this or so much meat on this bone right now.
Same.
But for Emeka,
it's going to be one of those classes in general, just Emeka wide receivers aside, like there's going to be so much value because people think it's just a bad class and then people sell the picks. Like right now, I think there's not like Caleb Williams's, Drake Mays, like Malik Neighbors, but like I think you can get your Chris Olave's, Jalen Waddles at wide receiver plus those type of guys. And then you're going to get a shit ton of like RB1s. Like I think there's like 5-6 guys that could be like an RB1 in this class. And then you have a bunch of guys that could be like a Rashad White, a James Cook, a Kyron Williams, just like those day 3, day 2, late day 2 guys that kind of blow up with their scheme that they're in and stuff. But
yeah, there's a lot of running backs that are more of that. They're not prototypical. So you said Kyron Williams, like Kyron Williams doesn't have any attribute that I look at and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
you know,
I
like,
still to this day look at him and like, this guy's not even good. I don't get how he's so good. Like,
yeah, and he's just like
just a grinder.
But like,
yeah, he's just a grinder.
Dude, he's a grinder and he limits his mistakes. You know, I've just seen a guy in the NFL right now that just doesn't give the ball up. And makes
it's funny because
choice.
I was so high on him and Bucky Irving until the combine. And then I saw the combine for both of those players. And I was like, all right, these are both small guys that are shit athletes. I want nothing to do with them now. And it bit me in the ass both times because I had so many Kyron shares that I just dropped after like year 1. After drafting him, I was like, oh yeah, fourth round. And then same with Bucky. And it's just, it's just, I'm done putting so much into it.
Yeah, there's so many guys that I've held on longer than I should have because of the Kyron Williams trajectory. Like I have Ty Chandler sitting on my tackle. I was sitting in my taxi. You know, now he's just eating up a roster spot. But like there's certain guys where you're just like, I had them valued incredibly high. And you know, I'm not going to drop a Zach Evans promo here, but like, you know, I don't think anybody
still wait for that
him
to show up.
Man, if he ever got a shot and I think I got to let that dream die a little bit. Back to Emeka though. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, So in my rookie guide that I built out, I have for Emeka Egbuka's NFL style chain mover. And I think that perfectly explains exactly how he plays. Like you think of Emeka Egbuka and you think of a chain mover. So based on that, like watching him, thinking about it for a while, I'm like, all right, how would I describe him in one word? Chain mover. What scheme needs a chain mover and thrives with chain movers? The Texans, the Rams would absolutely have a field day with Nick Caley as their OC now in Houston, coming from the Rams scheme, and then with Sean McVay and that Rams offense to be the kind of like that the 1B to Nico Collins or Puka Nacua, kind of that big alpha, like outside X receivers. And I also think that Broncos could really, really use an Emeka Egbuka chain mover type player with Bo Nix, and I think he would catch 100 passes year 1 with Sean Payton's offense. So that's kind of where I'm at with him and his profile.
I would love to see that. I keep looking over the draft boards and I'm looking at mocks a little bit. I'm checking out these guys, and obviously I don't put a lot of stock into them, but I also just want to have an idea of these guys are tuned in a little bit. You know what I mean? They're talking to people a little higher up than I am. Yeah. So I want to know exactly where they're valued amongst the upper echelon.
I still don't think he even makes it that far. Like I'm still so convinced he's a top 20 draft pick.
Well,
like
I'm looking
I
if he
see the
falls into that 22 to 24 range. Like, all right, that's
CJ
dream.
Stroud's like, Nick, get on the
So
phone now.
it could be that 22 to 24 range. I'm talking about the Chargers. Him with Ladd, I think, would be incredible. Like I think
Oh my
Herbert's
gosh.
stock,
He'd be that like
everybody,
Keenan Allen for
you
Herbert.
you and I with Herbert, right? Like
Oh,
you and I have
yeah.
been on the timeline.
I've already been
quite a
thinking
bit.
about that, but I was like,
Um,
just thinking, I'm like, they're gonna get Loveland or a running back, and I was getting too excited about it. But that
yeah.
is the
So
fourth landing spot that I have down
there's the
in my notes.
Chargers right there. Green Bay is right there. So that could actually be a
Another
really
one that
nice,
would be someone that could
know,
actually catch the football, because I think
they
they led
have,
the league in drops, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Jacobs putting the heat on a little bit over there. He's talking about it. Obviously, they feel it. They understand. I'm sure Jordan Love has had multiple conversations in private about that.
Yeah.
With multiple people, but it's who do you trust on that team right now? I mean, Jaden Reed, and then
Reed's like a fun, like I think Reed's a realistic kind of floor to medium comp for Luther Burden, but I think Burden's like Reed on steroids, basically. Like he can be like that and score on like limited touches and be high, like a high fantasy value week to week on like limited touches type player. But he just has such a higher ceiling than a Reed does. But yeah, I mean, Egbuka would slot in as the wide. That's what like I want to ask you is like, if a team like, what if our Pats trade up? Like if Egbuka's slipping into the 20s and the Pats trade up with like the Vikings, right? And they go get pick 24 and take him, and he's the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots and Drake May. Or if Jordan Love gets him as his wide receiver, like then what's his ceiling? Like then I think he could be like a top 12 guy and have like a ridiculous amount of points year one.
Yeah. If Egbuka lands with Drake May, I would have serious consideration taking him over Ted McMillan, and putting him in that.
If the Pats traded in the round 1 and took him, would you take him 102? Like, would you consider it? So let's say no other running back round 1. Like
I'm doing a dynasty show later today. I'm going to get into this a little more, but it all depends on my build. Obviously, like I can't say value wise that's going to make sense. I will probably always take a quarterback if he gets the DC there, because the outstanding value that you're going to get, and it just supersedes a wide receiver typically. If we're talking same class and Cam Ward goes 101, I can't pass that up, and I'm going to live and die by that sword typically. But Egbuka could be there. Like if you're telling me that if the Patriots jump on an offensive lineman at 104 and then they trade up for their wide receiver 1 and then take a back end tight end and they tighten up that offense in general, right?
Yeah, they get like a Gunnar Helm in day 2, early day 4, like an Elijah Arroyo or whatever.
They're building up for Drake May. You have to take Egbuka 102, 103. I think that's just a lot. I don't think Ted McMillan doesn't have like incredible landing spots early on in that draft. Like I don't even know. I don't like it. I don't love it until we get to that 22 to 24, because we're talking about Herbert getting a wide receiver 1, Love getting a wide receiver 1, and then Josh Allen's right there at 24, and Josh Allen could get his wide receiver 1. That's that little honeycomb right there, like that little spot, I think is so money for Egbuka. But you're right. I mean, he could show out and he could definitely jump even higher up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, there's definitely a realm, a possibility that we're looking at Egbuka going over Ted McMillan.
I know that's circles. Like, what if he blows the door? What do you think he needs to do? I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What do you think he needs to do to lock himself in as a top 20 pick this Saturday? And where do you think he needs to go? Second question, do you think he needs to go over Tet in the actual NFL draft to be valued over him?
So I think his RAS score he's got to hit. I don't know if he's going to really hit on that 40. If he is running the 40, I'm not sure if he's going to.
I think he's like a 4.45 type.
He's going to run higher than his whatever they have him at. I think he's probably going to run a little faster than expected, but the cone drill, like everything that
That's
he's
where he
doing
can
as
make his
far
money.
as
Yeah.
his agility scores and everything. Like I think once people see like, oh, he's the real deal, like Rome Odunze killed most of those drills in the combine, and people overvalued
That's
him.
what
I
I'm
think
thinking.
they overvalued him.
Yeah.
Not to say that he's not going to be an incredible guy in the NFL come next year. I think he's already going to hit expectations, but I think people jumped a little higher than they should have. I think they could easily do that with Emeka Egbuka if he does show that versatility and he has the like what we see on the field. If we see his route running translate into these drills, and
Yeah.
I think there's a absolutely possibility that we see him going much higher than expected. And I don't think he has to go above Ted McMillan. These guys, I'm never drafting. I'm always drafting talent, but when talent is so close together, like if we're talking about a 1A, 1B situation, it's the coach, it's the scheme, it's
That's how I feel, but
the
that's how I feel about this
quarterback.
running back class. Like
If
it's
you're
like to
so
me, there's like
close, I'll never take like a burden over a Tet McMillan based on a landing spot. But if we're talking about Egbuka and Tech, I think I could easily, if we're talking he goes to Buffalo and Tet is in Oakland or something. I don't know. Just
right. That's what I'm thinking too.
yeah. I mean, I easily going to take Egbuka over him based off of that alone. But that, like I said, I never will condone taking guys off landing spots. But if the talent is hand in hand, you kind of have to make that decision. I think,
Yeah, when a wide receiver, to me, there's always those wide receivers that I really love the film where the analytics are like shooting it down. Like last year with Brian Thomas Jr., like there was such a big analytic versus film conversation there. And it was just literally watching him. I was like, I spent hours watching. I was like in love with watching him because I was really like, I've never seen a big wide receiver like him be able to move that fluid and nimble and like one, stretching the field, and two, in like short areas, like after the catch. Like he moved extremely well. So I was really like, there's no way this guy's not good. Like I literally had him graded as a top 15 wide receiver, and it should have happened. Like him and Worthy. Like Worthy's a phenomenal fun player. Like we've seen what he's capable of. I think his rookie year should have been a lot better than it was if Mahomes just connected on a few deep balls that he overthrew him on. Like he could have like a 900-yard season and like 12 touchdowns, kind of like Addison had his rookie year. So I really think that there's always context needed with some of these wideouts, but it's rare for me where there's a wide receiver that I love the film and the analytics and production are off the charts and they don't hit. Like it's like he feels like the biggest smash prospect that it's like I can pencil you in to be good. Like, yeah.
He's safe.
It feels like
and
like the whole Ohio State offense is being underrated right now. Travion Henderson gained a ton of steam now. He's like getting all the hype. Like everyone loves him now, but feels like Judkins and Egbuka are just like being kicked to the side a little bit. Like people still respect them that they're good, but people don't like talk about how good they actually can be. And it feels like last year with all these national championship teams, all the Bama teams we've ever seen, all the LSU teams we've seen, they all got a ton of respect, a ton of hype. The whole offense was boosted just because of that. And it just feels personally like this Ohio State one is kind of getting like a lot of people aren't super in love with any of the players from it. But I guess that just means more discounts for us.
The space in general when it comes to high profile guys that are coming from big schools, because that prospect fatigue, you're watching them on national television. Yeah. You've been watching him for 5 years almost, when he's been in 4 years. And then, he was doing all of the bowl games in high school too, where it's like, if you're in Devi, you're watching this guy for Super Bowl. You watched him since, you had to wear a mask at the grocery store at that point. So it's like, he's been in my mind for a long time. It feels like too long, and you do get that. Okay, we've been talking about this guy at a nauseating level for so long. Is he good? Is he not good? You start playing mind games with yourself. And I think that's what the community does in general, especially with Travion Henderson. I think The same with Egbuka, where the injury, the value was so high. We had Travion.
They were both what?
Bijan.
You're a big Debbie guy. I know when we were last year, 2 years ago, they were both projected to be like the RB1 and wide receiver 1 in that class. Like it was Marvin Egbuka, like that, and that's everyone was talking about them. And it just
they were
doesn't work
first
out
round
that way
Debbie picks like for 2 years in a row. You know what I mean? These guys were going because you don't really value quarterbacks in Debbie league, so you're really going for the wide receivers and the running backs early on, and these guys are going so high. And then we saw the Trevion plummet. And I think the plummet has a lot of people feeling a certain way, even though he came out and, was fantastic this year. Like I don't think he lost any of his ability.
I wonder why he didn't declare last year. Like, I wonder, like, what he was told. Like, there's no way that he wasn't going to be the easy RB1 taken. Like, it must have literally been NIL. Like, that's really what I think it was.
I wish it was still about, like his stance on being in the NFL and his stance on where he's going and what he's doing in college. But money talks nowadays, man. Nil is insanely influential.
Like if Judkins stayed at Ole Miss with that Jackson Dart and Trey Harris, I think he literally would have had a ridiculous year again. And I think like Henderson would have too. And I think it would have been then people would be talking about this running back class like it's truly 2017.
I think
a lot of people think there's no like true elite guy after Junty. It's like Johnson, Hampton, Henderson, and Judkins are like top 10, 12-ish guys. Some people are higher on them and think, like, I think this class is really good. But, like, a lot of people think it's just kind of like a bunch of guys after Junty that are all solid to good. I think if that happened, then people would be like, all right, you got your CMC, you got your Leonard Fournette, you got your Alvin Kamara now, like your Dalvin Cook, your Joe Mixon. I think it would have had a lot more hype, but I think it was a business decision for Judkins and Henderson. They both got light workloads, could stay healthy and fresh for the NFL draft and for their rookie seasons because they both had less than 200 touches. That's like exactly what you want. You don't want to be coming off with 350 touches like Genty is. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, even the NFL, that's what they're looking for. They want guys with not as a heavy workload and they're coming to the NFL and they're still getting that light work for the most part. Like there's still, what is there, like 5 or 6, I guess, guys that are running a backfield by themselves at this point in time. So it's just the change of the guard, the way that people are valuing themselves and they want to get that third contract, and in running back terms and in the running back world, that wasn't a thing even 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You got your second contract and then you retired at the ripe age of 28 most of the time. Dude, before we sign off, can you drop how just tell people what your process is a little bit? Like, how do you come across prospects and how do you decide how you rank and just give them a little peek behind the curtain?
Yeah. So what I first love to do is I like to watch everybody. So I'll dive through any tape I can get, whether it's some people, like there's a lot of people out there on YouTube that'll put like a post of like every target from Emeka Egbuka's career. Like if I can find those type of videos, like I'll watch those videos. I'll watch literally everything I can get my hands on to like really get a feel for a player. Then I'll look at all the numbers, production, like yards per out run, yards after contact, missed forced tackles, context in like each offense. Like was Caleb Johnson the whole offense at Iowa? Was Genty the whole offense at Iowa? Why did Emeka Egbuka not do good in year 3? Why did Luke Burden had a bad year 3? Like I look at all that type of context as well. And then I like to really just, I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of like NFL draft analysts, like pay attention to a lot of like rookie mocks of like these drafts, like so NFL draft mocks and stuff to kind of see like what the talk is about some of these players and stuff. And I like to use that a little bit with my process because draft capital does speak a lot, but I've always been one to just really try to believe in and trust what I see and then have the numbers confirm that. And if they don't, then try to figure out why. Because you always do get like the golden egg in the bunch, like a Brian Thomas Jr. that had mediocre, didn't do anything till year 3. And then all of a sudden he's a superstar. And most of the time that's an X to the analytics and production community. But I like to find out why. And that's how we do, right? We look, we watch it, we look into the context. Why didn't he play till year 3? Well, 1, he plays at LSU. 2, that they're a wide receiver factory. And 3, the dude started playing football in high school. So it's like there's reasons why players like that don't do good. And then there's Zach Evans. Like, why is this guy, or Kayshon Boutte, why aren't they good? Because the off-field shit for them is just horrible. So that's why I really like to, And I just keep.
Jeff really likes
adjusting.
your process, by the way.
Yeah,
he's really into
thanks,
that.
Jeff.
How deep you go.
I just keep adjusting, and I talk to people that know what they're talking about. I talk to you. I talk to my boy JC Dynasty. I talk to Zoltan. I talk to so many different people and just figure out their process, like what they're doing. Why are they high on this player, but I'm not high on that player? Like, what can I do to see that? Or like, if we disagree, why? Like, I like to just be that why person, because there's always someone smarter than me out there that is doing this, that have been doing this for longer. And that's kind of how I've done it. And I've hit on players. I've bricked on a bunch of players. I mean, I hit on Drake May, but I didn't like Jane Daniels as much. Like, there's so many misses and hits that you'll have in your process, but just keep going after it and keep figuring out what works for you is kind of what I've learned and kept doing with my process. So,
yeah, man, I appreciate you in the space, and you're definitely in my circle. I think it is important to have certain minds that you trust and you really enjoy talking ball with. And, you and I go back and forth and talk about guys all the time. And I love it, man. Iron sharpens iron, and that's really important in the space. I don't ever say just trust anybody completely, but make connections, connect with people in that way so that they can influence you in a good way. They can get in your mind and they can talk about, why you feel this way, and just talking it out and having that discourse is important. You have a rookie profile. You have a rookie guide out right now for Smash.
I
that a little bit. Tell people about that.
Yeah, that took a long time to build. I've been building that for like the past 2 months, but it's basically just a whole rookie draft guide. There's going to be version 2.0 that comes out after the mock when I get back from my Florida trip, probably end of March. And then there's going to be a 3.0 post draft. So 2.0, but right now it's basically has scheme fits, player styles, comps, whole breakdown on the player, basically like a big bio on them, production profiles. What do they check the boxes? So I look at like predictive metrics, like yards per out run season, production season. Did they hit 1,000 yards? Did they hit 1,000 rushing yards? Did they break out at a young age? Did they declare early? Like, there's certain just predictive metrics that I have, kind of like a checkbox table there, but then I have all the combine numbers in there and their Ross score section. So still building it, but that's kind of what 1.0 looks like. I did that for like 60 plus prospects, quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs. And then the second 2.0 version is going to have like advanced metrics like yards per out run numbers, yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles force, PFF rush grade, PFF receiving grade, stuff like that in there. And then version 3.0 is going to have all of that with landing spots and stuff right after the NFL draft, probably literally a day or two after. I'll be working on it during that draft season because the grind never stops. That hosted 5 different shows and everything you're doing, but so that's what we're doing over there. And it's been really fun because at the end of the day, like, I look forward to the prospects and the draft process the most. Like, I love the season. I love Dynasty. I love that part, but I love evaluating and just evaluating these prospects when they're coming out and building profiles on them. Like, that's what I've been finding myself doing. That's been really fun for me. So I can't wait for this weekend so we can get some official numbers and update the rookie guide and put out a 2.0 version. But
nice, man. I'll be looking out for that. Where can people pick that up if they're looking to grab that off you?
Yeah, just DM me on Twitter and we can get that situated and I can send it over to you.
Awesome. All right, man.
Perfect.
Go follow my boy FFSnoog on X if you aren't. This is Dynasty Degens rookie profile series. Next week I will be chopping up with Mr. Matt Waldman. So tune in same time next week. Snoogie, I appreciate you, man. Everybody have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
OVO Sound 2025.